I'm Alex Graham Heggie, and welcome to Our Heritage. As a kid growing up in a rural area, going to the big city seemed to me like a really big adventure, and I know I'm not the only one who's had that experience. And it's an experience that we can trace back a fair distance. So we're going to talk today to someone I've shared that adventure with, Rose Hall. How are you today, Rose?
I'm fine, thank you.
So you're living in Owen Sound now, but you're originally from out Lucknow way, is that correct?
Well, I came here from Lucknow, but I grew up at a smaller place out in the country near Atwood.
Atwood, uh-huh. So what was your growing up like?
Well, I grew up in on a blind line, actually. If that's really rural when you hit a blind line. It was a road between Highway 23 and the side road. And my father had a big farm, and I walked 2.25 miles to school. I didn't always walk. I got a ride quite often, but it makes it sound like it was really primitive.
That's classic. But when you got older, you were drawn to heading down to school in the big city. How did that come about?
Yes. Well, I went to high school in Listowel, which was a good-sized town. And then after I finished grade 13 in high school, I had various ideas what I was going to do, and I always leaned towards business. So I went to Shaw's Business College in Toronto, which was a big move.
Was that an extraordinary choice for the time and where you were?
Well, there was either you go into nursing, I thought of that, or just teacher's college, normal school it was called then, or if you wanted business. Shaw's was one of the best business ventures there was.
So how did Toronto seem?
Big, very big. Streetcars, and I took a streetcar. When I lived with an aunt when I went to school, and I could walk to Roncesvalles. Roncesvalles was a big avenue then. And I was able to walk to the business school. But then I got a job in downtown Toronto. So I had to go on the King Street streetcar.
And did you enjoy the city?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, it was nice. I made lots of friends, but usually I came home on the weekend on the train. Friday night I could get a CNR train to Atwood, and back. Then I had to go to Palmerston on Sunday afternoon to catch the train back to Toronto.
I see. And so when you were at the business college, what sort of careers would you have been studying for at that time?
Working I took all the typing and shorthand. I was good at shorthand, but actually I never used it too much. And
is that right?
And bookkeeping. I liked bookkeeping. I still enjoyed working with figures. So.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, and just to put a little timeline on this, is about what year did you finish at Shaw?
Probably about 1946. That's a long time ago.
But then you would have been in Toronto when the war ended, I take it?
I was. I remember being in a store on Roncesvalles, and that everybody was just shouting, "The war is over!" And it was wonderful.
You were in the middle of buying something, I believe, when the news came out.
Yeah, I was buying chocolate bars.
Yeah.
We couldn't get chocolate bars. And my mother loved chocolate bars, so I'd go into this one store every week. They'd have chocolate bars on a certain day, and I'd buy them and take her home a chocolate bar.
Did it always make it?
I don't remember what they cost. Probably about 5 or 10 cents.
Did they always make it all the way home? Or?
Well, once in a while, I might have to go back and buy another one.
All right. And so you get out of Shaw and you got the job downtown.
I got a job in downtown Toronto. Caulfield, Burns and Gibson. It was a men's wholesale firm, and I was private secretary to the manager.
What does that mean, a wholesale firm? I don't think
Well, they had travelers out in various parts of the province and selling menswear. Because I could buy. They had a big warehouse, and I could buy things for my dad or my brother at good price. That was fun.
And downtown Toronto today, I've walked it many times. You got you're gonna have to duck with all these ice storms lately, with
Yeah.
all the great high glass skyscrapers. Did it look? What did it
No,
look
it's
like?
very different. Then the big Edens and Simpsons were the bigs down at Young and Queen
Yeah.
Street, and I used to go there. Loved to go down there on Saturday, and there was a big Woolworths store on the corner there where you could buy all kinds of things cheap.
Very nice. And but you didn't. How long did you stay in the city?
Oh, I don't know. Now I'd have to figure that out, whether it was I got a chance of a job. I came home to Listowel on the train Friday night, and I rode one day with a gentleman from Listowel who had a store, and he knew my father, and he was chairman of the hospital in Listowel, and he said, "We're needing a new bookkeeper in the hospital. Why don't you come home? We'd love to have you back here." So my dad said, "If you come home, we'll buy you a car." Well, that sounded pretty good. So I got a 1937 Ford.
Very nice.
And I moved home and drove into Listowel every day.
So now you're at the hospital in Listowel, and
I was the secretary treasurer, and I did all the book work. And when I go in there now, there's about 25 people in the office.
oh yeah.
I was the only one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What was the process of getting the books for keeping the books for a hospital in order?
Well, I got paid $100 a month. I know that. And they also gave me my noon meal. I ate with the nurses in the dining room.
I see. And I'm always interested in how the economics have changed. What was that? How was that for a salary at that
Well,
time?
that was pretty good for Listowel. It sounded good until I met this man that said, "Oh, if you come and work for us at the transport, we'll pay you $25 a week." Well, $25 a week was more than $100 a month, and it was strictly bookkeeping, and that's what I really like doing. So.
Okay, and we'll talk more about that after a quick break. We're back. So Rose, you left the hospital and moved on to what company did you come to
It was
next?
Listowel Transport Lines.
Ah,
And they had trucks out on the road, and then they delivered things and brought all the money in, and I had handled all the money, and I liked that.
It's interesting to me to see that you had the train still running passenger service out of Toronto. I have a terrible time trying to find a train going anywhere out of Toronto today, but
Well, that's a long time ago, mind you.
were trucks more becoming more the thing?
Well,
or?
trucks were used for delivering goods, from manufacturers to the smaller towns.
Right.
They had, I think they maybe had 12 routes at that time. I don't know whether they had that many or not, but it went all over, one to Hamilton and one to...
But ultimately, you ended up in here in Owen Sound. So
Yes, well,
how did
that
that
was
come
long.
about?
Well, I got to know met my future husband, and he was the principal of the school in Atwood. I met him, was playing ball. I liked to play ball, and he was coaching the ball team.
Softball?
Yes, I was the pitcher, and
Ah.
I still would love to play ball.
Yeah.
And so we got into a very serious courtship, and we were married in about a year. And he taught in Atwood for several years, and then he got, at that time, wages weren't what they are now, and if you got a chance of a better wage, you moved. So we moved to Ayr, which is near Kitchener. We lived there for 5 years. And then we went to Lucknow. And he managed to get his university degree and taught in high school. So we went to Lucknow for 9 years, and then we came to Owen Sound because he got in OSCVI here.
And I take it, and were you working as well at the same time?
Well, working, raising a family.
Quite so, quite
Yes.
so. Okay.
I always did. I think I've always done some books on the side. I worked for a credit union when we lived in there, and things I could do at home. I've always been church secretary, and
you had to do some arithmetic.
I liked doing
get
it.
out of
That
your
was
system, yeah.
that was fun.
And then did any one of those stand out as being your favorite place to live? Or,
Oh well, I guess I'll say Owen Sound's the place we stayed, so I guess we like it here.
Okay, yeah, there you go. There you go. And oddly enough, you came back to hospitals in a manner
No,
of
I
speaking.
did.
Here.
I wasn't here very long till I asked about volunteering in the hospital, and I volunteered in the gift shop at the old G&M hospital up on the west side. Things were very different then, but it was. Well, things were really different. I remember they had strict rules. You had to wear a skirt. You couldn't wear slacks. I remember walking over to the hospital one time in an afternoon. It was a fair walk from our house, and I wore slacks over, and then I changed into a skirt before I worked in the gift shop.
Okay. So that was a bit startling that was the rule.
Anybody that remembers the little gift shop at the old hospital, it was just one room really, and we had a little store closet that we stored things. And our biggest item probably was cigarettes. We sold a lot of cigarettes.
Oh yeah.
Made a lot of money on them. I think we paid 25 cents and sold them for 99.
In a hospital, more or less.
Until the board finally decided, that was when the people realized that cigarettes were not good for you, and the board decided that we should not sell cigarettes. And we were very upset because we thought, oh, we're going to lose all that money.
Whenabouts would that have been?
When was that?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I'd have to, probably about 1974. I don't know. It's in the 70s somewhere there.
Fair enough. I see. And and that was from what I gather, it was the cigarettes, and again in a hospital of all places, were bringing in a fair bit of funds.
Oh, they were. That was a good markup. Yeah.
Who was
And people hanging around the hospital, often were under stress, and were. I guess this is when they enjoyed their cigarettes.
right? Okay. And just for the hospital you're at is not the same as the main hospital in Owen Sound now, or is it?
Well, it's very much bigger now. With that,
but
it was a great move when we moved in. The very day we moved into this new hospital, I believe in, I think maybe it was in January or February, and the gift shop area wasn't ready, so the gift shop didn't get open for a few months. But I volunteered there the first day that hospital was open. I was helping in admitting, and I took the first patient to be admitted up to his room that day.
Yeah.
I don't remember what his name was, but I know it was a man, and I took him up.
Oh.
So we'd had a tour and knew where we were going.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what was the matter with him?
No, he was having something.
Okay.
You didn't ask people.
Oh,
no,
okay,
that's
yeah.
part of the Privacy Act.
Fair enough.
Well, then when the gift shop was opened, I got very involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
Worked there for 40 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do the bookkeeping for that as well? Or?
Well, I did at one time, but I was more interested. I loved selling and buying and meeting people.
Yeah. So to give a little context to that experience, I'm just interested to know when you started out, were these kinds of jobs, were a lot of your classmates when you were learning at Shaw women, or was it?
Oh, at Shaw it was mostly all ladies because that was in war years. And it was just at the end of the war actually, because we had 2 or 3 young men come back on whatever they got. Veterans got their fees paid.
Right.
I remember this one chap that was in the class, and I have never really kept friendship with anybody. I did at first, but I don't know any of those people now if they're alive.
All right. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we're going to take a quick break first.
Okay.
And we're back. So Rose, we were just discussing that it was the war years when you were learning bookkeeping and shorthand and all the skills that you used for the rest of your career. Would that have been the case before the war, or was that a new development?
You mean
that it was mostly women in the
I would imagine it was mostly women.
Even before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Definitely in those years, I don't think too many young boys took up business as a career.
That was all right.
If they did, they probably went to university.
I see. Okay.
Actually, we took much the same courses as first year university, because the house I lived in, there was a boy in economics, and he and I were taking the very same courses.
Fancy that. So there's a little overlap there.
Yeah.
All right. And so the bookkeeping itself, I think I think you are to be credited for being one of the rare people who takes great pleasure in adding up the numbers.
Love balancing books.
Yeah, yeah, maybe I can get you to do my taxes next year. I can't make head nor tail of them, but we've the tools that you used. I mean, obviously, the most basic, I assume, is just a paper ledger and a pen. But did you did that work incorporate increasing technology over the course of your career, adding machines, computers, and so forth?
Well, at that time we had adding machines and typewriters, and that was it, really. I don't even remember having a calculator for years. I mean, nobody can operate now without a calculator.
I certainly can.
We took, we had rapid calculation was one of our subjects we took. And
so they train you to do that?
Yeah, and I scored very high. I could still add very fast. Give you a column of numbers.
I definitely need you to do my taxes. But you could see those changes taking place?
Not at that time, no.
Okay.
I think when computers became prevalent, that's when the big changes occurred.
Right. And did you use them, or did you just?
I have in recent years. I use the computer all the time.
But not for work.
No. Never had.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a increasingly rare talent, I suspect, in this day and age. So my hat's off to you. Now, when you got to Owen Sound, you had a family. Were you drawn to the hospitals in particular for volunteering? Was it?
I guess I was. I right away I was wondering about volunteering and found out that there was a need, and I also got a job actually right away at Division Street United Church. They were applying for a secretary treasurer, and that was and I got paid for that. So
very nice.
I have been involved there ever since, actually.
And you've been at a hospital once before, so was there a draw to see it again? Or?
It wasn't much the same, but.
Was it were you?
I mean, when I was in Listowel Hospital, I was I did all the admitting babies and making up bills when patients left, and
Were people covered by?
Not too much. They used to be. The Blue Cross it was just coming out then, and that was wonderful if people had Blue Cross. And if they didn't, most people just paid.
This is pre-OHIP, of course.
Yeah.
What was it? Did it make a big difference when?
It made a lot more bookwork for the office too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So fun for you, but a lot more to do, I dare say. Okay. And I guess to bring it, and Owen Sound itself, has it changed a great deal since you've been here?
Oh well, it's growing significantly. People are still very friendly here, I think. I love Owen Sound. Always loved it.
Would you encourage a lot of other people to take volunteer opportunities?
Oh, by all means. I guess everybody isn't so inclined, but there's so many fields open. I don't know how a community would operate without volunteers, really.
Is that right? Yeah, it's. I don't think with my generation, maybe finding jobs is a little tricky. So sometimes you do it to fill the hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like you can't afford the energy. But
I think the hospital now they have a one night in the year when they honor the volunteers, and I think it's something like 400 volunteers. I don't know.
Is that many? Okay, wow. All right. Well, they're lucky to have them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think you've led a fine career. You've been.
Well, I've met some wonderful people, and it's all been very rewarding.
All right, I'm sure. Well, and you've made the big trek down to the big city, which I know is still daunting for some people from up here. But did you ever go back to the city?
Not too often, and it's very changed now. So very, I mean, Yonge Street used to be such the hub, and and now there's so many suburbs that are thriving, and the big. I went to drive down the old Yonge Street is really funny now because
Yeah.
used to be the big theater there, and anyway, it's.
Well, you've been able to observe a lot of change and had quite the adventure.
A lot of change in my lifetime, for sure.
Yeah, and a fine adventure. So I've liked that you've been able to see the big city and the small towns as well.
Yes.
It's not many who can do that even now, I don't think. Well, thank you very much. It's been delightful talking to you.
Thank you. It's been fun to think about some of those things from the past.
Well, I just love putting it in perspective how the world has changed and how work has changed and getting around has changed. I mean, I would love if you could still get a train to Toronto and make my life a lot easier. But it's been a pleasure. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right.